Hello and welcome to another fully narrated gameplay, and in this game we're playing Kennen in the top lane. For the record, I am not a Kennen main and I am not any kind of expert on playing Kennen. The reason we're playing Kennen is that I just got demoted and feeling demoralized, I wanted to try out a new champion. That being said, my approach to playing Kennen is something that might prove useful to those of you out there, so I decided to make this video. These are my runes and builds, and I'm simply following the recommended runes and builds for Kennen. As the game begins, we have the standard clown fiesta of an invade where we go for an invade on the enemy team, Enevia lands a stun, and I flash in to kill the enemy pike. I'm not entirely sure what to get with the 400 gold that I've got here, so I decided to go for a dark seal, hoping for the best in the laning phase. As the laning phase begins against Alawi in the top lane, I'm aware that my flash is down, so I have to play this a bit safe, knowing that the enemy Rammus can come by any time to secure a kill on me. Outside of that, we're going to try to poke down Alawi from a safe distance without getting hit by our tentacles. As a result of playing it safe, the enemy Alawi slowly pushes the minion wave towards our tower. This works out in our favor as Amumu arrives near the 4-minute mark and we charge in with Lightning Rush using all of our abilities to stun the enemy Alawi. This allows us to pick up a kill on the enemy top laner. A large minion wave starts heading towards the enemy top lane turret, and Alawi does not want to miss this wave, so she uses teleport to get back to lane quickly. Now I could recall to buy items, but I am full health and Alawi just used teleport, so I want to stay in lane and harass her as much as I can. We shove the minion wave towards the enemy top turret, poking Alawi from between minions best we can while avoiding her tentacles. We dropped a trinket in the river brush to give us advance warning of an incoming gank by the enemy Rammus. Given how hard we are pushing the lane, we absolutely need the vision on the river. Eventually I reach level 6 and I try to go all in on the enemy Alawi trying to kill her, but it does not work out and we both escape with low health. Going back to base, I decide I'm going to pick up a Hextech revolver as it will help me harass Alawi in lane, and it is also the path towards building my proto belt. And of course, because we have the spare gold, we decide to get a control ward as it helps us control the vision on the top side of the map. Coming back to lane, the laning phase continues with us trying to harass Alawi while dodging her tentacles, and I'm not confident that I can kill her even with my ultimate. I might be terrible at laning, but I do know a thing or two about jungling, so I'm going to shove the top lane into the enemy turret to let Alawi deal with the minions, and then I'm going to roam down the river towards the mid lane. In the mid lane, our Enevia is laning against the enemy Akali, and I'm thinking there's an opportunity to make a play here. We ping Enevia to let her know that we're coming in, then use Lightning Rush and Flash to get on top of the enemy Akali, activating our ultimate and Ignite to take her down for the kill. With our work done in the mid lane, it's time to go back to the top lane, but we're going to be pathing through our jungle to get there. It's important that we do not go through the river as you might run into the enemy Alawi along the way. The Alawi does manage to take down the control ward that we placed in the river brush, but I'm not going to fight her over it as she will kill us if we try to defend it. After that, the laning phase continues as normal, laning against Alawi, trying to poke her down from a distance without getting hit by her tentacles. Eventually, we do get ganked by the enemy Rammus, but it seems like he's not well coordinated with his Alawi, so we manage to get away. Outside of that, this lane is turning into a farm fest as I'm not really able to kill Alawi and she's not really able to kill me, and we eventually recall to buy some more items. When I do recall, I finally pick up my Hextech proto belt, which should help with using my ultimate in teamfights. If the enemy team had kept an eye on me, they would be aware that I recalled to buy items and they would probably expect that I'm going to go back to the top lane. However, I notice the enemy bottom lane is overextended and I see an opportunity for a gank. Our Nami is very low on health and acts as enticing bait to keep the enemy Ashen Pike close over the prospect of a kill. This buys us the time that we need to path through our bottom side jungle, arriving in the bottom lane through the river, activating Lightning Rush, proto belt, and our ultimate to pick up a double kill for our team. Notice that the enemy team did have a control ward in the river brush that we landed in, but with the speed of Lightning Rush combined with proto belt, we were able to make the gank work anyway. After that, it's time to make a very long trek back towards our top turret, where the enemy Alawi has been bashing away at our top turret. We've lost about 70% of our turret's health, which in my opinion is not a bad trade for the amount of pressure that we relieved in the bottom lane. We continue laning against Alawi as normal, placing a control ward in the nearby tri-brush to protect our lane from ganks. We're poking her as best as we can while trying to dodge tentacles as we defend what remains of our turret. Around the 14-minute mark, I think I see an opening and I go all in on the enemy Alawi trying to kill her. I find myself losing a lot of health as she activates her ultimate and I panic trying to get away from her. We flash to get away from her tentacle, then run into the bushes to get out of her vision. Coming out of the brush, we make a last-ditch effort play, hitting her with all of our abilities, stunning her and taking her down for the kill. Afterwards, we're going to ward the nearby river rush when we get ganked by the enemy jungle Rammus. We have to make an extremely precise play as we run away, hitting him with Shuriken, Lightning Surge, and our own body in Lightning Rush. Rammus gets stunned by our passive on contact, and this allows us to get away. As we recall the base, the enemy Alawi teleports back to our turret and takes it down with the help of Rammus. There's not a whole lot that we can do about this, and to be honest, I do not really care as I'm not one of those top laners that obsesses over defending my turret. With my turret down, my game plan hasn't really changed. I'm still going to be shoving the top lane minion waves into the enemy turret, but I'm not going to stick around because the enemy Rammus can gank us easily and we have no turret to fall back to. After shoving the wave in the top lane, I path through our jungle towards the mid lane and attempt a gank on the enemy Akali in the mid lane. It doesn't work out this time and she manages to get away, but that's not a big deal. The important thing is that we tried to make a play like this. Now, an interesting fact about solo queue is that laners usually do not pay any attention to what's going on in the other lanes. And so what I'm expecting is that the enemy bottom lane did not see my attempt to gank the mid lane, and they will not be aware that I'm coming down the river to gank them as well. We hide behind the wall here, just out of their field of vision, waiting for them to make a move. As soon as the enemy Ashe fires our arrow, we charge in with our lightning rush, activating our ultimate, catching her at the edge of it, stunning her, allowing us to pick up the kill. The enemy Pyke almost takes us down, but we get out of there with the help of Nami, taking down Pyke in the process as well. As we head back to the brush to recall, we lose vision of the enemy mid lane on the minimap, and we ping our bottom lane to retreat in case the enemy Akali comes down to pick off stragglers. After buying items, we head out towards the top lane, pushing out the minion waves with the help of Lucian, and we go for the enemy top lane turret. The enemy Alawi comes by to defend our turret, and Lucian and I poke her down while keeping in mind that the enemy Rammus can come by at any time. 18 minutes into the game, my cat jumps on the keyboard pressing the R key, activating our ultimate. Trying to make the best of an accident, we activate Lightning Rush and charge at the enemy Alawi, throwing at all of our abilities, and we manage to pick up the kill. I thought I could casually walk back towards Lucian, but Rammus surprises me by flash taunting me under turret, and this almost kills me. We managed to survive this just barely at very low health. Since we are at low health and there is an assassin on the enemy team, we immediately look to the mid lane and notice that the enemy Akali is missing. Odds are that she's coming after us, so we run all the way back towards our second tier turret to recall safely. As we finally enter our recall animation, we see the enemy Akali heading back towards the mid lane, and this confirms our expectations about her coming after us at low health. After that, we buy some more items and head out back onto the rift. Now, with the enemy top lane and bottom lane turret down, our next priority objective is the enemy mid lane turret. As we head back towards the mid lane, I'm going to path through the jungle so that the enemy team does not see me show up in the mid lane, and this might give me a chance to make a play. I hang around the river just above the mid lane, waiting to make a play as my team slowly pushes and takes the enemy mid lane turret. Around the 20-minute mark, I see my team funneling the enemy Akali towards the area opposite the river, and this is my opportunity to make a play. I flash over the wall, activating all of my abilities, and we pick up a kill on the enemy Akali in her shroud. What the enemy Akali did, we pushed the mid lane with our numbers advantage, but with a few ultimates down, we're having some trouble with this push. Eventually, the enemy Pyke comes close to hook our Anivia, which turns out to be a bad idea as she stuns him, and we manage to pick up a kill on the enemy Pyke. Following this, a brawl breaks out and we lose several members of both teams, but we do come out on top. In the end, it's just myself and Anivia, and we're taking out the second tier mid lane turret. Meanwhile, in the top lane, our lead has gone to our Lucian's head, and he tries to 1v1 the enemy Akali and gets taken down for his efforts. Trying to take on an assassin as a squishy AD carry is always a risky gamble. As we head back towards our base, we see a massive minion wave in the bottom lane, and we head over to clear it out before heading back to base. In the meantime, a skirmish breaks out near the Baron pit. The enemy team makes a great play, taking advantage of their momentary numbers advantage, but our team is so far ahead that we manage to turn things around anyway. My team manages to make a kill on the enemy Rammus without me, and then they give chase, picking up a kill on the enemy Ashe as well. As most members of my team continue chasing the enemy Akali down the river, I'm going to head towards the mid lane where my Lucian is about to engage the enemy Alawi. Seeing our Lucian in trouble, we decide to go all in on the enemy Alawi using all of our abilities, and we manage to take her down. What the enemy Alawi did, Lucian and I pushed the mid lane trying to take down the enemy base turret. As we get close to the enemy base, we fail to take into account the enemy respawn death timers, and the enemy Rammus rushes out, taunting our Lucian. Now, the mistake that I made here is that I should have left Lucian for dead and ran away, but instead I felt compelled to stay and try to save him, and in the process the enemy Ashe fired an arrow from base and it hits me, allowing the enemy team to take me down as well. The worst part is, I lost my stacks. My stacks. During the next 45 seconds, the enemy team pushes the mid lane and the top lane, but they're not able to take any additional turrets. As we respawn and come out of base, we see the enemy Akali pushing a massive minion wave in the top lane, and our Lucian is going to defend it. This is a dangerous position for Lucian to be in, so I start heading over there, but my team gets there already, so I focus my attention on the bottom lane instead, where the enemy Alawi and Ashe are pushing the bottom lane. And here I make another mistake in trying to defend this turret. This turret is so low on health that there's absolutely no way that I can save it, yet I rush in with Lightning Rush, activating my ultimate, and I end up dying as Ashe hits me with an arrow and Alawi kills me. This is a bit ironic, as I did the exact opposite of what I did earlier when I let Rammus and Alawi take my turret, knowing that I could not stop them. I realized that what's happening is that the lead that I have has gone straight to my head, and I'm now making overly aggressive plays, and I need to keep that under control. Luckily, as this was going on, my team killed the enemy Akali, and then they took the Baron buff. Coming out of base, our next set of objectives should be the top lane or bottom lane turret, as those are the easiest turrets to take right now. But my team decides to push the mid lane, and I need to be there in case a teamfight breaks out, so I go and join them. Our Nami engages with her ultimate, and this allows us to make a pick on the enemy Rammus. And the important thing here is that with the enemy Rammus dead, the enemy team has no frontline tank, which means we are free to run down the remaining members of the enemy team with our Baron buff, and that is exactly what we do, closing out the game, destroying the enemy Nexus. Now I am very much new to Kennen, and I still have a lot to learn about how to play this champion, but I think the use of Lightning Rush along with Kennen's ultimate as a way to gank other lanes is extremely useful in helping your team get ahead, and that has a much greater impact on your ability to win a game than simply being ahead by yourself while your teammates are struggling on other parts of the map. If you love these videos and want to see more, do hit the subscribe button and use the bell icon to be notified on when the next video comes out. If you want to improve your in-game decision making, take a look through the playlist on the left, and if you want to learn some league strategies, take a look through the playlist on the right. You can also follow on Twitter, and if you want to support this channel directly, do click on the Patreon link to support this channel.